Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. We're all in a good mood. Yes. It's Wednesday, Ruffy's here, Tam McManus is here, and you are here with us, and we're delighted. Thank you very much for joining us, and of course for not only subscribing to the channel, but right across YouTube, our app, our Facebook and Twitter for the full year, 20 million video views. It's absolutely magnificent. People just consuming all of our unique content. We're absolutely delighted with your commitment to us, and it's going to get bigger and better. So hopefully there's lots of surprises on the way for you as well. We've got an absolute belter of a question today. I think it's going to be a tough one for you guys. So here it is. Since the year 2000, how many goals have Celtic and Rangers scored against each other in top flight games?
2000.
So that is 23 years of Celtic against Rangers, Rangers against Celtic, whichever.
The Rangers weren't in the top league for a while. Take that into consideration.
I would say it's over 90 games then.
So
goals?
90 games averaging, I would say, I'm going to go 182.
For?
It was joint, two of them.
No, I want singles. How many have Celtic scored?
Right. Celtic have scored, what did I say, 180 there? Celtic have scored 90.
And Rangers?
86.
In 23 years, there's only 4 goals of a difference between them.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not mocking you. It could be right on the money here. It could be.
Celtic have scored 95 goals and Rangers have scored 78.
78. Okay, it's a good question, isn't it?
No. When you answer that question, your eyes.
That's him telling the viewers that he's thinking. For the benefit of anybody on a podcast, if you heard little wheels turning, that was Tam thinking about the answer. Anyway, thanks to so many of you for joining us on the programme as ever. Don't forget to tell your friends, share it, like it, and of course, if you get the opportunity, hit that subscribe button as well. Here's the competition. It's another magnificent competition courtesy of PLZ Soccer. This is your chance to win this fantastic framed and signed print of Brian Laudrup scoring for Rangers in that unforgettable game up at Tannadice. That goal secured Rangers 9 in a row, and for your chance to win, all you have to do is make sure you subscribe to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel and answer this simple question: from which club did Rangers sign Brian Laudrup? If you know the answer, pop it in the comment section below and make sure you subscribe to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Good luck. Yeah, there you are. That's the competition. Good luck with that one. It is an absolute belter of a print, and of course signed by Brian Laudrup as well. Now, Mark Lafferty says 88 goals for Celtic, 52 for Rangers. So quite a lot of people having a wee go at the competition. It's a belter of a competition, a belter of a quiz. We'll give you the answer at the end of the programme. Tommy Adams says you're coming to us loud and clear in Disney World, Thailand. So Tommy always tunes into the show, and we're really absolutely delighted that so many people are tuning into us. Joseph McGonigal says, I reckon it's 145 to Celtic and 115 to Rangers.
Celtic definitely scored more, I think.
You think so?
Because there was a period of domination with Celtic under Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah, okay.
So, and they used to spank Rangers, so I definitely think that Celtic have got more.
Yeah, okay, it's interesting. Remember Ronnie Ruffy from Girvan, the golf course?
Yes.
Ronnie just says thanks for mentioning me on yesterday's show. He's the manager down there, and he says, Girvan, if you're going to come down to the golf course, it's a great course. He says a lovely course. More than happy to accommodate you guys down there for the golf.
Yeah, that's Peter McCoy's area. Peter McCoy's from Girvan.
Yeah, I think Peter, does he not play out at Turnberry?
He's the starter at Turnberry.
Yeah.
He starts all the tours and everything on the first tee.
The weather's okay next week. You can maybe come down next week, me and Ruffy, for a wee game. The Girvan.
I think they might be struggling for time to get back.
Yeah.
To tell you the truth.
Well, to be fair, we can get 2 other people. Or there's a couple of mannequins over there. We could get them. We'll get more out of them. The other thing I was going to say to you, Paul McFarlane says it's the 3 amigos today: a legend, a comedian, and Peter Martin. I love the show, guys. Thanks for that, Paul. Sooner or later, over a period of time, we get other descriptions of who's on the programme. So
we'll take that by.
Yeah, we'll take that at the moment.
For my column in the Daily Record.
Well, we're going to talk that by. Do you write a column in the Daily Record?
A lot of Hibs fans are not happy.
Well, a lot of Americans are not happy because you haven't told anybody you played in America in the newspaper. You really should do a feature on it. this is an interesting one. I cannot. When I was reading this morning, and somebody alerted me to it, Ruffy. This next part left me absolutely gobsmacked. Andy Walker was speaking to, I think it was a bookmaker online. It was obviously some kind of podcast that he was doing, and he claims he heard refs concoct the easy way out over a VAR decision. Now, as you're aware, Andy himself works for Sky, and Sky, when the commentator and the co-commentator are on the game, they can hear that discussion from VAR as to what they're deciding, what they're talking about. So this is what he had to say, and again, I'm absolutely gobsmacked by it. Working with Sky, I have the option of listening to VAR. To be absolutely clear, I hear the video assistant referee, not the referee on the pitch. I won't mention any names, and I won't name the teams involved, but there was an instance where a couple of things happened in the space of a second or two. I heard the VAR say the easiest way out of this is if it's offside. That to me is really poor language. There should be no idea that we get an easy way out. You have to look at what's happening on the pitch and apply the laws of the game. Don't look for an easy way out. That's not good enough. It's awful. I couldn't believe what I was listening to, and I'm not going to mention any names, and I'm not going to mention the game. Referees now have this safety net. It doesn't matter what I say or do, someone else will tell me if I've got it right or if I've got it wrong. And that example I have given, that can't be right. Now, I must admit, I mean, if he is saying that whole thing there leaves it wide open, I think, to somebody has to investigate what went on there. Because the last thing you want is the referee getting an easy cop out, and of course the VAR looking at it and saying, well, we can't make a decision on this one. Why can't you make a decision? Why do you want an easy way out?
I can't believe it. I really, that's incredible that he's heard that, because as you know, him and I think Ian Cocker are allowed to listen in to the conversation. There shouldn't be an easy way out. It should be the laws of the game, and if that's, you've got to take Andy at his word with that, then that's got to be looked into, because as I said, managers, fans, players are all getting very frustrated this season with VAR. They don't want to see the easy way out, or referees with that kind of language. They want to see the right decisions being taken. And I think he's right. I think referees have got a safety net. I think they can make a decision now knowing, if it's the wrong decision, it can get turned over in the Premier League, which is great for them. I think that is absolutely incredible that Andy has heard that, and it'd be interesting to see who it was and what game it was, but I don't think Andy would be forthcoming judging by that, but it's got to get looked into.
Well, to be honest with you, Robbie, there are two issues here for me on this situation, which I think this will grow arms and legs, and I'll tell you why. There are two elements to it. I think what Andy highlights as a point is valid, that there should not be an easy way out for a VAR referee, because he can't make a decision on a call. For what reason, I know not, and he hasn't named names or indeed the games involved, so anybody that's automatically thinking it's the big two are jumping the gun. But the point here is they are privy to, as part of an agreement between SFA, the referees, to hear what is being said by the VAR, and I wonder if there is a dilemma there where they're really breaking code of conduct. Of should Andy be saying that sort of thing if he thinks it's something that's questionable and should be raised? Should he not be raising it through the process of Sky having discussions with the SFA? I don't know. Do they breach any rules by disclosing that, making that statement? And then secondary to that, which is, in effect, he's a whistleblower. That's what he's doing. He's a whistleblower, and quite simply, the fallout from that must be the SFA will undoubtedly have to come forward and say, well, if this is the case, what was the game? Who was involved in it? And then we need to, look at it even, we'll need to look into this in more detail.
Well, I definitely have to look into it in more detail, I think, in the next couple of days. I hope it doesn't drag on. I hope somebody comes out and makes a statement, and I don't know what kind of agreement Sky have got with SFA or the referees or whatever. I wasn't privy to that. I didn't know that they could listen into the VAR, how they're discussing it and chatting away.
Yeah.
But I think we've sat here on numerous occasions and said we'd love to know what the dialogue is between, you know, the referee and going up to VAR, and I agree with you, there must be some kind of contract between Andy and whoever, Sky and whoever. So he has opened a can of worms, and the sooner we get to the bottom, the better.
Now, again, on occasion when we do discuss things like this, it's a thorny subject, but of course there are people who have selective hearing, and again, Tony has said, so the problem is that he's highlighted it and not the conversation. Well, Tony, I can only presume you joined the conversation maybe midway through, and I'll give you the benefit of the doubt on it. That is not what we're saying. What we're saying is there are two dilemmas here on this one. Is he a whistleblower? Should he have blown the whistle on it? What was the protocol? Are there any agreements? And again, it's one of those things where you say to yourself, we're giving you this to give you an insight into it. We're giving you this as an added bonus as a broadcaster. Is there a trust? Is there an understanding? Do you follow me? I've no problem with the content of what Andy's saying.
Clearly, I don't think there is a contract then, because I don't think Andy would just disclose that to a.
It's a big call.
There's no way there's an agreement saying, listen, we're giving you this information, you can listen into VAR, but you're not allowed to disclose what's been said. I don't think there is, or else Andy will be in big trouble if there is, and he's disclosed that. So we have to wait and see, but incredible that he's come out with that and not went straight to the SFA and gave them his concerns about what he heard.
Yeah, listen, again, it highlights the problems that if you think back to VAR, and VAR is really causing all sorts of consternation, dealing with Andy's point about the fact that if somebody is copping out from making a decision, that's wrong, Ruffy. That person should not be in the VAR studios.
No, it is completely and utterly wrong, but I can imagine the dialogue between the referee and somebody up and wherever he is in VAR might not be, you know, what we think it's going to be, you know, because they'll be hitting each other with questions, you know, are you sure? You know, the referee will be going, are you sure you want me to make that decision?
Yeah.
Do you want to have another look at it?
No. The point here with the VAR, Ruffy, because I was there when they were launching it and showing everybody what was going on, I was well aware that the Sky commentator and the co-commentator would hear what the VAR assistant says. And when there is a decision to be made, the VAR guys basically hit a button, which then allows them to speak to the referee. The VAR, the commentators can hear that when he just basically says delay. And delay is just hold on till we have a look at the other angles on this before advising you on whether it's your call to go and take a look. We think you should take a look at this decision that you've made because we think it could be, you might look at it as a wrong decision once you have a look at what we see. And then the referee goes over it, and the referee still has the call. It's the referee's call on that. As soon as he looks at VAR, he's still in charge of the match. He's not waiting for someone in VAR saying, by the way, we think you should do this. On a fact of offside, they'll show him the lines, it's a fact. But the other incidents you're looking at, you're saying to yourself, the referee has to look at it.
Referee's final call.
Yeah, and the referee has a look. He sees grafitti, the ball coming off his arm, penalty. And that's it. And you know, sometimes when they do go to VAR, when it's a handball decision, 9 times out of 10 they're coming back and going like this and pointing straight to the point.
You're right. I think every time, from the games I've been seeing, every time the referee's summoned over to the VAR, the decision's changed or whatever from the original decision. It's usually changed. So I think people kind of know that just now. But yeah, it's just another example of the problems that VAR's causing in this country. I mean, we were screaming for it to come in, and now it seems as if every day, every week, there's something to talk about with VAR.
But only in this country could we get to a situation where we manage to really kind of set off bombs over and above what the normal.
That's a grenade, Andy.
That really is. He's absolutely, and by the way. This is get more to come.
Yeah, the referees will come out and say something. Somebody has to clear it up, because what's happened now is it's put doubt in every referee in VAR. Everybody will be sitting at home going, I wonder what game it was. I wonder if it was that game, Rangers versus Motherwell, when there was an offside and they called it offside and it wasn't offside. I wonder if it was that. I wonder if it was that game.
Yeah.
If it involves Celtic Rangers, it's going to go. It's going to explode. If it's St Mirren v Livingston, then I think you might just get away with it. But if it involves any of the big two, the conspiracy theories will be back out again.
Yeah, and again, listen, I think there's undoubtedly a conversation that will have to be had between Sky as commentator and co-commentators, and of course the content of what he said I don't think can be brushed under the carpet. I think that is a serious issue, and he raises a very serious point, but I am only talking about it from my own point of view, having worked for Sky, and relationships and what's acceptable and what's not, and whether there's an agreement with the broadcasters to help them out in situations, and then is the protocol, listen, don't break rank here with this and start firing it out is common knowledge, I don't know. I'm only at this moment saying there's so many questions that have come from that, but listen, lots of people are looking and saying, well, Andy should say it. That's fine, sometimes you only have to look at the papers over the last 6 months, whistleblowers right, left and centre on issues that people feel as if it's valid that they make that call. So that I'm not Andy Walker's judge and jury on this. I'm only throwing up what the permutations could be on this one. So listen, that's a good talking point, isn't it? It's managed to get us to 15:15 just talking about VAR again, Ruffy, to your head in.
I thought a whistleblower, you weren't supposed to know who they are.
What?
I thought a whistleblower was sort of anonymous.
Well, not in every case.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
well, your whistleblowers are anonymous, but not the ones that are. Yeah, there's been a few down through the years that just decide to come out and say, listen, here's something that happened, whether it's politics, you name it. But this time it's VAR. And I tell you, you're right though, you're absolutely right. If that comes out, or even anybody gets a sniff that it's Celtic and Rangers, we're in for another 20 years of
imagine it's a
something
Rangers
else.
game.
Oh
no.
Exactly. Listen, talking of the news that's coming out today, which we deal with on a regular basis and get your thoughts on, Douglas Park has quit as Rangers chairman with John Bennett taking over. This was actually, I think, 10 seconds after our programme finished last night. They must have been just waiting till we go off here. But he's resigned after 3 years as chairman. Now, how do Rangers fans look back on him? He was there as the chairman when they stopped 10 in a row. They win the title, they won the Scottish Cup, and he was there as chairman when Rangers got all the way to the Europa League final. Do they look at it does Douglas Park just look and say, well, I've done my bit, I'm 72, I want to just have a wee rest from the pressures of this job, because it is all consuming.
It certainly is, particularly when you're on a board, in a massive club like Rangers, and as we know, there's lots of things going behind the scenes that fans aren't privy to. I don't know Douglas's, slant on this. He's a very big businessman. I know he wouldn't be happy with a certain segment complaining about a couple of his board members. He wouldn't like that at all. He wouldn't anything directed at the board not doing things properly, and maybe, as you said there, he's later 72. Maybe he's just wanting a quiet life, because it is all demanding. But I would agree with you. I think Douglas going in there, and being the chairman would have attracted all these big investors to come into the club and help when they needed it. So from that point of view, I thought Douglas has done a great job. Yeah,
never mind the other investors coming in. His contribution alone, I think, as time passes, I think a lot of Rangers fans might look back and say, he really put his hand in his pocket when they really needed it. This is what he had to say on stepping down. It's been a great honour to serve the club as a director and chairman. During my 8 years in office, we endured extraordinary pressures. I'm glad we have stabilised and strengthened the club, and it's now time for me to hand over the baton to a new chairman for the next stage in the club's development. I look forward to continuing to attend matches, supporting the team, and I wish John and all at Rangers Football Club the very best. I think a lot of people will be pleased with his contribution. I don't know if he could have continued to constantly, be writing cheques right, left and centre.
Yeah, as Ruffy said, he's a businessman, and I think he's done the hard yards at Rangers. I think through COVID, there was nothing coming in, no crowds, he's stepped into the breach, he's got investors in, he's put his money in, he's got Rangers back in a stable footing. They've stopped 10 in a row, which I think was all important, all consuming for Rangers supporters. He was part of the Scottish Cup winning team, obviously, there, and getting to the Europa League final. So I think they'll look back on Douglas Park favourably at Rangers. I think now, you're right, 72 years old, must be serious pressure, being the chairman of Rangers Football Club. As Ruffy says, there's a lot of protests now, there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, share issues, raising money. You know, so I think he's probably just thought to himself, listen, enough's enough, I've done my bit.
It's a strange time to make the call though, Tam.
It is a strange time, just with the floating shares as well.
And the big game's coming.
Big game coming up. I don't think that Douglas has been the greatest communicator in terms of the supporters. I think that John Bennett will be better in terms of communicating stuff to the supporters. The only criticism I would maybe give to Douglas Park is they seem to want to pick fights with people, the SPFL or wherever it was, you know, in terms of the last couple of seasons. But on the part, you can't grumble. You know, I think the squad's better than it was when he took over. They've stopped 10 in a row, a great run in Europe, you know, and I think he's done a good job. At 72 years old, as you said, I think it's time to hand it over to someone younger.
Yeah, I wonder what John Bennett's attitude will be, because of course the early indications of the last 48 hours has been that they've voiced their concerns over the Glens vodka deal, and I just wonder at what point. We were talking about it yesterday, Ruffy. I think there needs to be a restructuring of the rules in the SPFL that basically allows this new Scottish marketing company that are coming in, who basically will take over as an umbrella of the whole game. I think if they're going out to do deals, I think, you know, somewhere along the line, you know, a lot of clubs have to look and say, right, you're part of this now, you've agreed to it, here's the deal, get on with it. Because every club could come up and say, well, wait a minute, I've got a business, because most businessmen take care of these clubs. I've got a business and this is contradictory to, you know, maybe what I deal with. I don't think that can come into it.
No, I think that the marketing companies should be at this precise moment in time getting everybody around the table, you know, and getting everybody's views. And if you've got any stuff you want to bring it up, now's the time to bring it up, because the next 2 or 3 years is very important to a lot of football clubs financially. And you know, you need a collective, you need everybody. You can't have somebody going out and getting a big, say, BP, and then somebody millions of pounds, and then somebody saying, no, we're not happy with that.
Yeah, because I use ESO.
Aye, something like that. You know? Which, see, that's what I was. I've never seen any of the teams in Champions League complaining about the sponsorship and the board.
Yeah.
Really, there's none of them complaining. I'm not doing that because of that oil company.
Well, I was going to say to you, there's not anybody taking a major stand, apart from the fact that eventually they had to actually cut the deal with Gazprom. But it was only after a lot of painful negotiations that suddenly, you know, the hypocrisy was frowned upon. But sooner or later, we need the money. We need everybody to get, you know, a good slice of cake that's coming in, and we're not at this moment sending out a good message.
Yeah, I think that Rangers clearly think that we're underselling ourselves in terms of the league.
Well, that's fine. Who's there at the door?
That's what I'm saying. You know, whether that was the Sky deal, whether that was with Cinch. You know, Rangers have always been the ones that's not been happy with it. The rest of the teams have. So you've got to go with, you know, the democratic. But listen, I think that Rangers, in terms of going forward, there's a new marketing company in there, and I think they've all got to get together around the table and agree on it, because it's not healthy. You know, if you've got one of your bigger clubs not having it, and you know, it's not great for sponsors either who are looking to invest in Scottish football. So hopefully this new marketing group can bring more money to the Scottish game, because we need it, every penny. Yeah, absolutely. Of course, as we get ever closer to the big game, Douglas Park will also be well aware that he's stepping down as we head towards the summer, where lots of clubs will be facing that rebuild. I mean, even Michael Beale's come out and said 2 things that I think are quite interesting over the course of the last week or so, which is, you know, I've got a budget, I'm happy with it, it's bigger than most other Rangers managers that he's aware of. And he also says that the team next season will be very different.
Well, I think he's already identified he wants more youth, he wants long-term signings, he doesn't want to be bringing people up on loan and they're up for a year and then they're away somewhere else. He wants to be signing players that are going to be there for maybe 3 or 4 years, you know, and sell them on the way Celtic have been doing and making huge profits for the last 5 or 6 years. So that'll be the way ahead. I think you'll see a lot of players coming in. I think the CV of any player now going into Rangers will be scrutinised, you know, right from wherever they've been, how many games they've played in the last 3 years, you know, how many times have they been injured, you know, what's their longevity, what are they going to be worth in 2 or 3 years. That's the kind of player I think they'll be identifying. Yeah, of course, the most immediate problem for Rangers is going to this game. It's a must-win, I think, for Rangers if they have any hopes of somehow, with games running out, having any slight chance of winning this title. There's obviously the bragging rights, which go hand in hand with Celtic and Rangers coming together. Michael Beale has made a statement on the
fans not being at the game. There are no Rangers fans at Celtic Park. We've all had a say on it. We've been blasting out our opinion on it for the last couple of years, and he says it impacts it because it's very hostile when you go there. I think the referees are under a huge amount of pressure. Even having just a few fans is better than none, I would say. It puts pressure on the referee if you have a large crowd in favour of one team. From no away fans to a 50-50 split at Hampden, that's going to have a difference on everything. And that's the Rangers manager mentioning it. I mean, 750 at the best of times as an away fan it's a figure, it's just a joke.
Yeah, listen, we've spoken about it so many times on the show. It's embarrassing that there's not going to be any away fans. I mean, you look at every big derby game all over the world, and there's away fans. So it's poor, and I think it gives a massive advantage to Celtic. I think whoever's at home, you've got 60,000 fans shouting for a decision. I don't care how experienced a referee you are. You're going to get. I think you're going to get swayed by that. With 60,000 people there, and listen, it's up to the referee to be strong and get the big decisions right. So we're not talking about that on Monday morning, but I think he's right. I think it gives Celtic a huge advantage to have no away fans with Rangers. So listen, Celtic are hot favourites going into the game anyway, but with that support behind them as well, I cannot see that. This will be one of the Rangers' best results in a long time if they go to Parkhead, with this Celtic team flying and go and beat them. I don't think Celtic have lost a game at home under Ange Postecoglou domestically, so this would be a massive result if Rangers go and win it. Yeah,
it would be a real shot in the arm, Robbie, especially with I think the more important game of the two coming up at the end of the month, which is the Cup semi-final.
Yeah, if Celtic were to win this one, I mean, everybody's saying Celtic will win the league anyway. I think Rangers will try and brush it under the carpet and say, well, we've got one more game left, and we know like it is when you play the last game of the season and you win it. If you win it, your supporters are away happy. They think you've had a fantastic season because all they're thinking about is you've got that cup and the trophy room.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everything, the way I look at it is everything is on that cup game for Rangers in their season, because I think the league is gone. Although, as you mentioned there, the amount of times when Rangers were winning 9 in a row that Celtic would maybe come up with a win in a game that was meaningless at the end of the season was completely and utterly irrelevant. It matters not a jot.
Yeah, it doesn't, and I don't think it's quite irrelevant, but I still think that if Celtic lost the game, they would win the league, because I just think they would win every other game, even if they lost at Ibrox, and they would still win the league. So, but Ruffy's right, in terms of next season, I think if you're a Rangers supporter, you take it from when Michael Beale's taken over until the end of the season. You forget about what went on before with Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. A lot of Rangers fans will be thinking, Michael Beale's come in, but we've lost one game, the final, and we've won every other game, or we've won the Scottish Cup. So I think there's still a lot to play for Michael Beale. If Celtic lost that semi-final and won the league and won the League Cup, I still think it's a good season for Celtic, but a lot of Celtic's fans will have their eyes on the treble now. So that semi-final is the be-all and end-all for Rangers. It really is.
Yeah, and again, you've mentioned you can't see anything other than a Celtic win at the weekend. I mean, I've listened to them all. I mean, even Richard Gough. I was listening to the legendary captain of Rangers saying, Celtic are better players. I mean, that's the harsh reality of it. Their squad is so strong going into it. We've talked about Rangers, but for Celtic, for Ange Postecoglou, the only dilemma for him is Hatate going to be fit? That's one of the dilemmas for him. And of course, does he throw Moy back into the mix as well? That's the only real thing that I'm looking at and saying his dilemma is, Ruffy, because everybody else is in place.
Yeah, and as we've spoken about, everything's geared towards a Celtic win. They're at home, they've got 60,000 supporters. There's a couple of Rangers boys haven't played in an Old Firm game before. They'll have to try and handle that. And I think all Rangers are hoping for that certain players have an off day. I mean, that can happen.
Yeah.
A team can have an off day, but they haven't done that. Okay, Ross County and a couple of other games could be wobbles here and there, but nothing that suggests that they're going to turn up in a game of this magnitude and just not play well. I think if you ask any manager, if you've got a team of 11, if 8 people turn up and play to form, you're going to win the game. Because it depends who doesn't turn up. And Celtic have got big players, but again, so have Rangers. And if Rangers have their big players turn up, I think we're going to get a game. I mean, I said this yesterday, I rabbited on.
Yeah.
I still think it's going to be pretty tight. I don't see Celtic winning 3-4-0.
Yeah, it's not a crime to think it's tight. It's a crime to actually just waffle on and tell us, if they turn up and this turns up and that happens, and if I think somebody said the other day there, if this happens, when you look at it and the way that the two teams are going into it, yes, they're both on good runs, but the key games are the big games where players have to turn up.
Peter, I think the first 20-25 minutes in this game, Celtic have blown Rangers away. And near enough every home game under Ange Postecoglou, they've come flying into the traps and the game's been done early doors. I think if Rangers can go in at half time, level, or even at 1 goal down and go into the second half, I think they've got a chance. But as we know, Celtic always start fast. Everything's fast, throw-ins, corners. I seen it a couple of weeks ago against Hibs. Everything's taken quickly. It's something that's been worked on. Ball boys, ball back in quickly. Yeah. Everything's sharp, tempo. And if you're not switched on, and Barisic hasn't been switched on in a few Old Firm games with Abada coming across him, if you're sleeping in that Rangers defence, you're going to get punished and you're going to get in at half time 2 or 3-0 down a game that you've been the last couple of games.
Yeah. Here's a belter of a question from Joseph, who says, if Celtic beat Rangers in the next 3 games, do the panel believe Michael Beale will be sacked? Well, I don't. I think Michael Beale is a long-term project. I think at least to be given his own side to see how they perform, because this is not his team.
No, it isn't, but they are important games, the supporters remember the results, but no, it isn't his team yet, I think he's got a few shuffling to do there. He's got big decisions. Are the big 2, do they stay or do they go? He's already brought 2 in. He's saying he wants another 4 or 5. Supporters will be waiting to see where they 4 or 5 coming for. Are they going to be loans? Are they going to be down in England? Are they going to be championship players? What kind of quality is he going to be spending? How much money is he going to be spending? Because supporters will be keeping their eye on that. It's okay saying, I've got a budget that's better than everybody else, but let's see who your first signing is. If it's somebody it's no costing, then they'll be supporters being supporters. Will look. I know it's no guarantee you buy somebody for 5 million or 4 million, but that's the kind of player they'll be expecting to come through the door.
Yeah. What do you make of that comment?
What was that, Peter? Sorry.
3 games if he loses.
No. Listen, as Ruffy says, there's absolutely no chance that Michael Beale is going to be sacked. I mean, next season you're going to see a completely different team. I spoke about it last month. I think that Rangers have got the perfect opportunity, and the manager's got the perfect opportunity in the summer. He's got a clean slate. He's got so many players out of contract. And if you're a manager, you don't want players on 3 and 4 year deals that you don't want, because then you're going to have to pay them off. You don't want them. They're sitting in the reserves, they're sitting in the stand. He's got 7 or 8 players out of contract that he can just go, right, thanks for your service, see you later, and he can bring in more quality. So I think you're going to see a vastly different team next season. He's got Cantwell and Raskin, and I think he'll be looking to bring in 3 or 4 starters right into the team. And no, I don't think this season, this last couple of months, is going to have any effect on Michael Beale negatively going into next season. Yeah.
Okay. We will hear from Jackie McNamara and Craig Levine shortly. They were out at Hampden today. Just got to ask you a couple of things. Obviously, the last thing you want to see is when a manager's under pressure, and Hearts haven't had a good run of late, they just completely and utterly seem to have lost their way. I just wonder if, Robbie Neilson starting to feel the pressure. The last thing that you want to see is fans desecrating the front of the stadium with that sort of vandalism and language as well, wanting Robbie Neilson out. I mean, I think it's crazy.
I think it's symptomatic of supporters nowadays. Everything's instant success. I think that a lot of that comes from social media. There seems to be a bit of entitlement to amongst the Hearts fans at the minute. Well, we should be up there challenging Celtic. Now, they're miles away from Celtic and Rangers. They're going through a bad run at the minute. I think they've lost four games in the spin. Not a great run of form, but if you look overall with Robbie Neilson since he's come in, he's got them out of the Championship. They've got a great run in Europe. He's got a couple of cup finals. I think overall he's done a great job. He's going through a sticky patch at the minute, but you can't just bin a manager but every sticky patch he goes through. And Hearts are still sitting third at the minute, Peter. If they dropped into 4th or 5th, then I could maybe see a lot of anger for the Hearts supporters, but they're still in the driving seat at the minute. They're still third. And when you think of all the work the foundation of Hearts have done and all the Hearts supporters, to see that graffiti all over the Hearts badge outside the stadium is bang out order. And I think they were right. The foundation of Hearts came out with a statement and condemning it, and I think whoever done it needs to take a long hard look at themselves, because Hearts are still in a good position, and financially off the pitch, when you look at where they've been before, with the likes of Romanoff, and then getting relegated during the COVID season, I think when you look at that and you look where they are now, I don't think there's any need for that kind of stuff. Yeah,
the other aspect of this, of course, is you need a derby like a hole in the head. It's coming up, Hibs against Hearts, not too far away as well. Craig Levein was out there today with Jackie McNamara. They were there playing, would you believe, some games with our reporter Adam Binney.
I joined Craig Levein and Jackie McNamara at Hampden Park today to help promote the eScottish Cup, which will take place at Hampden Park next month. Gamers from across the country will battle it out with hopes of taking home the 50 grand cash prize, so I sat down with Craig and Jackie to test their own gaming skills. Levein's former club Hearts have been going through a dip in form, which has resulted in some fans graffitiing Foundation Plaza at Tynecastle with the text reading Neilson out. And it's fair to say the former Jambo's boss is not impressed.
What idiot would soil... The supporters are giving their money to the club, to support the club. And they build the plaza, build the new stand, and then some idiot comes along and draws on it and puts graffiti or whatever nonsense it was, I don't know, but that's the supporters' money that's gone into that. It's just madness.
And as we look ahead to this weekend's Old Firm derby, this match could make or break either side's season. For former Celtic fullback Jackie McNamara, this is a match Rangers simply have to win.
I think Rangers need to win it regardless. Even a draw is good enough for Celtic at this stage with the games, because you don't see them dropping any points or many points, plus the goal difference as well. So Rangers will know they have to win the match to have any opportunity.
Yeah, I don't think Jackie was enjoying that game there, to be perfectly honest with you. The other
What was the score with Craig Levein there?
I think they give a draw.
Was it 0-0?
Yeah.
4-6-0?
Yeah, you tell him that, because he'll leather you. if he can batter Graham Hogg, he can batter you with one punch. By the way, Robbie, he was desperate to get that gag in. Jackie, the perception of him there, this serious, dull, and the actual guy in real life is totally and utterly different.
I think he was trying to concentrate.
Yeah, I think he was.
He was talking as well.
Don't well let me Adam beat you, never hear the end of it. He'd have that on his Instagram, I beat Jackie McNamara FIFA.
But the two of them make very valid points. So I think Craig Levein's point is certainly the strongest of it all, which is Hearts fans want to have a long hard look at themselves.
But for me, they're not supporters, they're thugs. They're just going along there, and any normal supporter who supports their team in the way Hearts have done, he said that, I've got right behind their team. So anybody who goes out and does something like that is just, they're not supporters. Yeah, they can't be supporters.
It might galvanise them. Something like that might galvanise the team and the squad and the fans, and the players to think, let's get behind everybody again. So it could have a positive effect.
Well, Chris Corey says Hearts fans are being unfair and unrealistic. 2 seasons out of the lower divisions to where they stand now, it's outstanding. Chris, I think you make a good point there, and I think a lot of Hearts fans will look at that. But we now live in a society and a time where it's almost... it reminds me of, down through the years in America, you could put a pilot show out on television. If after even 2 or 3 episodes the figures are dropping, they just drop the show. They would just ditch it. And the American owners that are in charge of some clubs, and I'm not just saying American owners, there are other owners now who just seem to be getting drawn in by this quick fix mentality and sack them and then get somebody else and then sack them as well.
Yeah, isn't it? I think a lot of that is the pressures of management and social media at the minute. You look at some social media, and I'm on social media a fair bit. There's players getting criticised after 1 or 2 bad games. They're forgetting about the previous 20 games. They lose 2 games in a row was a crisis. 3 games in a row, it seems to be at Hearts. So, no, I think overall Robbie's done a really good job at Hearts. Listen, and the time to judge him is at the end of the season. Hearts are still in the driving seat. They're still favourites to finish 3rd. They're going through a blip at the minute. And if at the end of the season Hearts finish 5th, or sixth, then I can understand the criticism, but not at the minute when everything's still to play for.
Yeah, destiny is in their own hands, and of course, listen, if you think Robbie Neilson's feeling the pressure at the top end, what about the clubs at the bottom end? Our reporter Kerry Pollock was out to talk to Callum Davison of St Johnstone today.
Here in Perth this afternoon, Callum Davison has been preparing his players to take on Ross County this weekend, who are grappling for every point they can get, trying to edge themselves away from the relegation zone. But despite being 8 points clear from their opponents this weekend, Davison says you're never out of the danger zone.
Always look over my shoulder. It's one thing you have to do, I think. Whether I give the message to the players, I don't. That will depend on where we are and what I think is needed. But myself, coaching staff, we always look over our shoulder. I think, we have no given right to be in this league. We have to work extremely hard every game to do it, and that's basically the bottom line. If we do that, I believe we'll win. I do believe we'll win games of football. I think we've got the quality there, we've got the players there to win games. But if that application is not there, then it'll be a struggle towards the end of the season.
There are just under 10 games to go before the end of the season, and VAR has been causing problems left, right and centre, and Davison believes it still has too many teething problems after being in for quite some time.
Generally, my head's frazzled a little bit with it, so biggest one probably for me will always be the handball rule. Certain things, certain decisions, I think if I was Malky and watching the game last Sunday, I think I'd be going to be going nuts as well. So it's really, really tough when you play against good teams and you get decisions like that against you. So the handball rule for me is something we have to look at, and watch the Liverpool-Chelsea game last night, and the referee, he let a lot go, and he was pretty quick within the decisions. So just think these little things need to sort of improve and let football be played as a football game, not as a stop-start game.
Will St Johnstone improve their current home form, or will Ross County edge themselves away from the bottom? It all takes place here in Perth this Saturday.
Yeah, it's a big game, but not only that, Callum Davison just highlighting a point there, from the English game now, where the referees get the game quicker, let things go, trying to keep the fluency to the game and make decisions quicker. I wonder if some of our problems are the direction and the pressure on the referee, or indeed the standard of the referee is really our biggest gripe.
Probably a bit of both, Peter, to be honest with you. But I think England had the same problem when they first started VAR. Everything was taking too long. They seem to have speeded that up, although there was a decision, as I said the other day, at West Ham game, I think it was 4 minutes to get an offside call correct between two teams in the bottom three. So they're obviously clearly not wanting to make a big mistake because it could cost somebody a lot of money. But I think next season, in terms of VAR in Scotland, it will be quicker. I think it's our first season. We're still learning, and the referees, I think, will get better as we go forward. Yeah,
well, fingers crossed. Oh, look, there's a flying pig. Anyway, I've got to ask you, just before I go to Ruffy on this one, of course, Lee Johnson has been talking about a possible link-up between Manchester City and Hibernian, and trying to use as many links as possible to get some players on loan to Scotland. Are you buying into it?
Yes, I am. I think that you've got to use your contacts, and you've got to go and get players who you think will improve your team. And Man City are a massive club with a massive squad, very, very talented young players. The only issue I would have, and I spoke about it in the Daily Record today, is Hibs' youth system. I think there's not enough players coming through from Hibs' youth system. I think they've got a very, very good squad of talent at the minute, as we've seen in the UEFA Youth Games.
That could take the step up.
Yeah,
but what's the manager's problem then? Why can't he see that, or are you looking at it from a different level?
I'm not in there every day. I don't know the insides, of these players. There's two, Josh O'Connor, Gary's son, and Ethan Laidlaw, who've been banging in goals consistently in the reserves and under 18s and in Europe for 2 seasons, and none of them's had an opportunity, and both of them are going to leave the club in the summer, I'm led to believe, unless something drastic happens. So if there's a lack of opportunity, if you're a young player at Hibs and you're seeing people coming in on loan from Burnley, Man City, Man United, and you're not getting an opportunity, and you're banging goals in every week, or you're playing well every week in the reserves, there's going to come a point where you're going to go, I'm wasting my time here. And the Hibs supporters want to see homegrown players coming through, and I don't see enough of them coming through at Hibs at the minute. I don't see enough opportunity for the young players at the minute. I can see Lee Johnson's obviously come through in England. He knows England well, he knows the market well down there, and he seems to be transfixed on getting players from down south. Whereas I think there should be more homegrown players getting an opportunity at Hibs. When you look at some of the subs, and I'm not talking about all of them, some of them have been good loan signings, but some of them have not been good enough at Hibs, and they are blocking the pathway of the young talent at Hibs, and as I said, 2 promising players that look as if they're going to leave in the summer, and that's because of lack of opportunity.
Well, why invest in an academy, Ruffy, if you're not going to give them a pathway?
Yeah, exactly. You know, a lot of managers have different views on that, because believe it, they spend a lot of money in academies. Academy, and you have to analyse. It might be costing you 300,000 a year. Then you've got to sit down and say, right, what we're getting out of that 300,000. How many have we had coming through? And as Tam said, how many have broke through? You know, and you've got to look at all that kind of stuff. But I always have a problem. You know, if you've got a first team pool, let's say 15 people in a dressing room, and 4 or 5 of them are loans for somewhere else, I don't think it gives you a right good harmony in the dressing room, particularly if they 4 or 5 are getting a game before the guys who've committed themselves to a 2 or 3 year contract. So I think you've got to look at it that. And I remember, Tam, that you might remember, I remember when Hibs got to a final, I think it was against Hearts, and they'd 7 on loan players. In the final, and they get thumped something, I don't know what it was. And if you're an on-loan player, you're not feeling the hunger the way the Rooks and the Stantons and the, you know what I mean? If you're a loan player, you're going to do your best.
Yeah.
But you don't get the full package of why these supporters are there, because they've supported Hibs all their life, and they're not identifying the people who are on the park.
Yeah.
But I mean, it can work sometimes, but that particular day was a shambles.
Yeah, I stress it. I'm not in there. I don't see them every day in training. Lee Johnson's got a better, view of it than me. He's in there every day. Sees them off the pitch, on the pitch. But from what I've seen from youth games, I watch a lot of Hibs youth games.
European game.
They did a big European game, and I would be expecting some of these younger players to be on the bench, Peter, or maybe coming on or getting minutes, and I've not seen height and a hair of them over the last month in terms of getting opportunities and minutes with Hibs.
Yeah, and of course, as each match goes past and they don't get the results, then people become more and more angry with it and start asking questions about every level of the club. If you're going well, you want to reward the people who are doing well for you. And St Mirren manager Stephen Robinson, he's offered new deals to Charles Dunn, Curtis Main, and I think he wants to try and get a core there that he doesn't have to sell anybody else. New deals for them: Trevor Carson, Marcus Fraser, Greg Kiltie as well.
I think that's the point I was trying to make. If you can get a core who are going to hang in with you for 2 or 3 years, it's just good for the whole team, because as Dan will tell you, once you get to know somebody personally and you're playing with them, it becomes a social thing as well. And even when you go on the park on a Saturday, you're fighting for your mate, you're fighting for somebody you really know, inside and outside of football.
Yeah.
And if you get that kind of harmony, sometimes you get a reward, and I think that's what they're trying to do at St Mirren.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, I'm looking at it here, obviously, I look at Hearts and the problems they've had, Tam, and I'm thinking to myself, they've now got a situation where Zander Clark has picked up an injury. It looks as if Ross Stewart, who could have been looking elsewhere, will be the man in between the sticks for them. And of the last 4 consecutive defeats, you're starting to see, apart from Zander Clark coming in, with Zander Clark out, the 4 consecutive defeats, I just wonder, if you can get that stability of a back line, a goalkeeper is making big saves. Since Craig Gordon went out, Zander Clark's come in, got a fair bit of positivity around his performances, and then the wheels just seem to have come off. Conceded 6 goals against Celtic, 3 against Aberdeen, and of course lost to Kilmarnock, who've been woeful this season.
Yeah, and listen, I think they're going to have to reshuffle their goalkeeper as well now. Ross Stewart's got a wee bit of experience. He'll come in. I don't know if they'll go into the loan. I don't know if you can go into the emergency loan market if you're struggling. I'm not the ins and outs of that. Maybe they'll promote a young boy into to be number 2, but they've got a huge game at the weekend against St Mirren. And St Mirren have a decent record against Hearts this season, and it's a must-win for me. I think if Hearts don't win this game and results elsewhere go against them, they maybe drop down into 4th. Then I think you're going to see a lot more criticism. It's a game where Robbie Neilson, you're thinking home games at Tynecastle, you've got to win the game, got to come out and start well. 4 straight defeats. If Hearts can win that game, then all of a sudden, everything in the garden's rosy again. But it's a tough game. St Mirren have shown this season that they're difficult to break down, difficult to beat. They've got a bit of confidence at the minute. They're going for the top 6 as well. So, you know, I think that's a really, really big game for Hearts.
Yeah, St Mirren could actually just put themselves a point behind Hearts, as well as, of course, everybody hoping that maybe Aberdeen don't capitalise. And let's not forget, Hibs are not out of it, even though there's been a bit of criticism, Ruffy. They've got 40 points.
Yeah, well, 3 weeks ago, Livingston were the team of the season, apart from the two big ones, but now it's St Mirren, you know, and I think if we remember at the beginning of the season, St Mirren manager has been told he has to sell players to bring in players, you know, so financially they've had to watch what they're doing, and he's had to sort of a wheel and deal. He certainly gave a lot of young boys a chance at St Mirren, which I'm sure the supporters will be happy with, and he's brought some good players in. I've said I like the boy O'Hara. I think he's had a great season for them, scored a couple at the weekend there. So no, if they get to top 6 again, you know, that's a fantastic achievement.
Yeah, okay. Listen, we talk about players' standard here, the money that's being paid up here, and maybe players that don't live up to that money. I watched Chelsea against Liverpool last night. Oh my God, it was terrible. It was just terrible.
And that's players on 200, 300 grand a week. Couldn't trap a ball, and yeah, it was a shocker of a game. And as I said, there's a lot of great games in the English Premier League, you know, and that's why we love it. It's a great league, but there's a lot of crap games, and that was one of them last night.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, the problem is that Liverpool are there for all to see, and Jurgen Klopp says it's not going to be a quick fix.
This was the fight we had to show tonight. This was the way we have to start again our development. We cannot now hope, because we did a couple of things which were absolutely not like they should have been, that we fix it then overnight. So
yeah, big problems there. I think Liverpool need about 5 or 6 players. Anyway, here's how some of those results panned out. And interestingly enough, Leeds got a positive win over Nottingham Forest. Steve Cooper still in charge, apparently. There was wild rumours that he was sacked, which would have left us with only 7 managers who started the season in the English Premier League. Good win for Brighton. They are really tearing it up this season. Leicester lost to Aston Villa, who again, with Unai Emery, who's a really good manager and is proving that with Villa. Chelsea and Liverpool a snow draw, and it's West Ham Newcastle tonight, and Manchester United Brentford. West Ham Newcastle, Ruffy, massive for David Moyes to try and get something from that.
Yeah, he got a wee win at the weekend, but they're taking a bit of the pressure off. It's another home one, but I think Newcastle are going for Europe. They want to be in the top 4, you know, that's what they're trying to do, so it'll be a really tough one, but again, we're a bit biased, aren't we, Davey?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, we love people who are Scottish who go down there.
I want Newcastle to win.
We want them to do well.
Not against David Moyes, but I want Newcastle. Hope we finish in the top 4.
Hello, Davey. Yeah, the rat. Yeah. I'll pass on his details. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we want West Ham to give Newcastle a good pumping. It's as simple as that. Good luck to David Moyes and everybody at West Ham, and all the staff at West Ham as well. We know a few of them. Yeah, exactly. And Laura, who used to work for us, is down there at West Ham as well. Yeah. So there you are. Just thought we'd mention that. To hell with Tam. So listen, Ruffy. Here's a dilemma I bet you wish you had when you were thinking about moving. You told me the other day there that when you were at Celtic, suddenly Hamilton Accies at the tail end of your career came in with a big offer for 3 months. You decided to take the money and run. Was it the right move?
No, not the particular time. When I walked out of Parkhead and I went out to Hamilton, I walked through the door at Hamilton, I banged my head in one of the girders, and that's when it sunk in. Yeah,
you'd not made the right move. Apparently, and I don't.
But they're nice people at Hamilton.
Oh, absolutely, they are. By the way, yeah, absolutely. You're going to get leathered. I was going to say to you, Messi looks as if he's not going to sign a deal with Paris Saint-Germain. He's out of contract in the summer. And it's been reported that there's a £350 million a year deal to join the Saudi Arabian side Al Hilal SFC. Of course, that again would pitch him up against his old pal Ronaldo. I mean, listen, if money talks, do you go there? I mean, how much is enough?
I know, we want to see him in England, don't we? Well, I want to see him in England. I want to see him at a top club in England and see him week in, week out. I don't think we've seen enough of him since he's went to France. And that's because Tam's got all these satellite dishes. He probably sees them all. I've not seen very much of him.
He got booed the other night there with Paris Saint-Germain.
I don't get why do Ronaldo and Messi, they've got money coming out their ears. Why do they not go back and play with a team in Portugal? Maritimo, I think, was the club that he grew up with. Why does Messi not go back and play with I don't know, was it Argentinos Juniors or whoever it was, and just see out their career and give something back to the fans.
Messi was at Barcelona since he was 8.
Yeah, I know, but
so I mean, his home is Barcelona. I think really.
Just stay there? Why you need to go and get an off for 400 million quid?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just greed.
I hope you have that same ethos, Tam, when we go through the negotiations in the summer with you. Or will we adopt?
By the way, do you know what I nearly signed for a Russian team called Novosibirsk? And Neil Murray will tell you, because he was acting as my agent at the time. And I had just left, I think I'd left Hibs, I can't remember who it was I'd left. And I got a phone call saying, oh, they're going to give you $6,000 a week.
Wow.
£6,000 a week, and they were in the second level of Russian football.
Yeah.
So I thought, $6,000, I said, yes, I'm interested.
Yeah.
And then I looked up, and it was in Siberia.
Yeah.
And it was minus 38 at that point, and they would want 2 hours of daylight. So that put me off, or I was on my way to Russia.
$6,000 a week, and by the way, Robbie, it might be minus 38 on the pitch, but on the bench, it's minus 45.
I wouldn't have cared picking up
$6,000 a week, eh? Fantastic. Anyway, good insight, Tom. A couple of things. Congratulations to Gary Boyer, he's manager of the month, and I think he's had some good victories there. Cove Rangers, Ayr United, an away draw with Partick Thistle, and they're still in the hunt for the title.
Yeah, I thought Chris Doolan might have been in for a shout with that. He's had a good month as well. Dick's improved as well. Dick's got his act together up at Arbroath, but that's Tom's team in the Championship. He's hoping they do particularly well, and they'll got a wee bit of momentum to get through there.
Tough game of Saturday away to Arbroath.
Yeah.
I think if they win that, they'd be big favourites to win it.
I noticed your pal Rod Petrie missed out on winning a place on the UEFA Executive Committee. Received the least number of votes, didn't get on the committee, and I'm gutted for him, because that's my ideal job, Tam. If I was thinking about a great job, go and work for UEFA, walk about with a satchel roughy in the corridors, never seen again, just pick up your money and go on holiday in Switzerland.
Yeah, well, the person who's, I'm not saying done exactly what you've done, but Andy Roxburgh for me epitomises everything at UEFA. He's done particularly well everywhere he's went, and good luck to him.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ruffy's not bitter at all. And Paul McFarlane, I think, comes up with a very, very good point as we head towards the end of the show. Peter, remember and get a sell-on fee for Tam, and make sure you pay them. Yeah, I think that's the most relevant part of it. Well done to you. Okay, what about our quiz? Ruffy, what did you say? I thought it was a belter.
What did I say?
You didn't remember yesterday?
No, exactly. You were well off it. You were well off it.
Okay.
Anyway, the answer is, since 2000, I asked the question, which was, how many goals have Celtic and Rangers scored against each other in competitive games? And the answer is Celtic 146, Rangers 104.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there you are. Good question, wasn't it?
A great question. I don't mean that many people got that right.
None. It's as simple as that. But it was one of those ones that got you thinking. And William Lang says, yes, the $6,000 would have gone on the heating, to be perfectly honest with you. Yeah.
Did you ever went to Siberia for $6,000 a week?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Aye, and by the way,
2 hours a day,
he would have been playing outside tennis and golf in the freezing as well. 146 for Celtic, 104 for Rangers. By the way, let's not forget, competition. It's another magnificent competition courtesy of PLZ Soccer. This is your chance to win this fantastic framed and signed print of Brian Laudrup scoring for Rangers in that unforgettable game up at Tannadice. That goal secured Rangers 9 in a row, and for your chance to win, all you have to do is make sure you subscribe to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel and answer this simple question: from which club did Rangers sign Brian Laudrup? If you know the answer, pop it in the comments section below, and make sure you subscribe to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Good luck. Yeah, I must just say, well done to Joseph, who did actually point out that he was close. He had 145 for Celtic and 115 for Rangers. He was close. So that was a decent guess, Joseph, just in case you think I'm leaving you out on this one. But absolutely incredible that you were so close to it. Well done, but you still lost. Anyway, but it was a good guess, Joseph.
It took him an hour of his life Googling
counting all the goals. No. To be fair to Joseph, not a bad guess. Anyway, listen, don't forget, if you go on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel, you can see David Martindale, and of course we've got Alex McLeish talking all things Rangers. Next week we're releasing Alex McLeish 40 years since Gothenburg. The Gothenburg greats are all getting back together for a couple of big dinners this year. But Alec was reflecting on the run to Gothenburg and, of course, beating the mighty Real Madrid, winning the Super Cup as well. Let's not forget Aberdeen, 2 European trophies, the 2 stars on the badge as well. And it's really one of those games that you should never forget, when Fergie and Aberdeen really ripped up Europe and won that Cup Winners' Cup as well. And I think the great news this week that Fergie has received, along with 5 other people from Aberdeen, the UEFA Cup Winners' Cup gold medal as well, and delighted for Dougie Bell that he gets one too. Excellent. Okay, hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button. Thanks to Tam, thanks to Ruffin, from myself, Peter Martin. We'll see you tomorrow.